Welcome to the 10 Towns of Icewind Dale, a ring of hardy settlements carved from snow, ice, and sheer determination. These frozen communities are bound not by kings or empires, but by necessity, trade, grudges, and the constant threat of survival in the far north. Together they form a living network of fishing villages, lumber outposts, and mining hamlets, a frontier unlike anywhere else in the Forgotten Realms. At the heart of this rugged land, there are three frozen lakes that connect the towns: Lac Dinishir, Redwaters, and Mare Duldan. Each of the 10 settlements play a vital role. Bryn Shander acts as the central hub for supplies and the council. Targos and Easthaven dominate the fishing and caravan trade routes. Lonelywood keeps the timber flowing, while Termalaine harvests and polishes gems. Bremen patrols the frigid river, and good Mead and Dougans Hole guard the waterways. Finally, Caer Dinaval and Caer Konig carry old names and even older grudges. Life in the 10 Towns is practical and immediate. Politics here is measured in barrels of fish, wood deliveries, and who stands watch against the wind or the wolves. Each settlement sends a speaker to the council. The decisions ripple across the frozen landscape. A single misstep, a late supply, a lost shipment, a delayed alarm, can mean hunger, hardship, or worse. And survival here is never abstract. Dragons, remoras, and blizzards shape every choice. Smugglers exploit old grudges. Strange magical crystals tempt the desperate. The 10 Towns endure because people keep their fires lit, share watches, and trade favors that become debts, and debts that become stories. This is not a kingdom or an empire. The 10 Towns are a testament to community, resilience, and the stubborn human spirit. Each town is unique, each voice matters, and together, they all survive. Bryn Shander sits on a wind-blasted hill, a ring of stone and timber that looks out over the frozen lakes. It is the largest of the 10 Towns and, by habit and necessity, the capital. The Council of Speakers meet here. Supplies gather here. When trouble comes, the bell in Bryn Shander is the one people listen for. The town feels like a promise. Thick palisades and stout gates keep the worst of the wind and the worst of the wild at bay. Inside, streets slope towards a central square where merchants hawk dried fish, salted meat, and carved knucklehead ivory. Inns are full of traders, mercenaries, and the occasional scholar who thinks the north is a map to be solved. Here, life is practical. Stores keep long rows of cured meat and barrels of whale oil. Blacksmiths patch sled runners and sharpen axes. The militia trains on the hilltop, not for glory, but for the steady, necessary work of keeping watch. Bryn Shander is where caravans from the south arrived with grain and timber, and where the 10 Towns pool what they cannot produce alone. Politics here is a daily thing. Each town sends a speaker to the council, and those speakers argue over fishing lanes, road repairs, and who pays for the next supply run. The council meets in a stone hall that smells of smoke and old decisions. Compromise is a skill as valuable as a good rifle. People in Bryn Shander are blunt and warm in the same breath. They will trade you a bowl of stew and then ask you to help haul a crate. They will listen to your story and then tell you how to mend your boots. Hospitality here is practical. Food, a bed, and a watchful eye. Of course, there are quieter corners. A healer's hut where poultices are mixed and stories are traded. A Scrimshander stall where knucklehead ivory is carved into trinkets that fetch good coin in the south. A small market where children run between the stalls, their cheeks red from the wind. Threats are never far. A dragging sighting can empty the market almost instantly. Raiders and desperate men sometimes test the walls. When the everlasting Rime came, Bryn Shander became a lifeline. Stores opened, fires were shared, and the council made choices that kept people alive. That memory shapes every decision here. A Bryn Shander speaker will tell you, survival is a group effort. A caravan that arrives late can mean a winter of hunger. A decision to send supplies to one town instead of another can make enemies. The council's voice is not law, but it is the closest thing the 10 Towns have to order. If you come to Bryn Shander, do 3 things. Find the market, listen at the council hall, and learn the watch schedule. Buy a map from the trader and a warm cloak from a tailor. Offer to help unload a wagon. You will be paid in stew and in stories. Both are worth more than coin here. Bryn Shander is not a safe place in the way a walled city in the south is a safe place. It is a place that makes safety out of stubbornness, shared labor, and the willingness to stand watch through a long night. Stay alert, keep your hands warm, and if the bell rings, answer it. Targos sits on Mare Doldan, a town that smells of salt, tar, and the iron tang of fish. The harbor is a maze of piers and booms, boats tied stern to stern, nets drying like sails on the wind. If Bryn Shander is the brain of the Ten-Towns, Targos is the fist, blunt, practical, and quick to act. People here measure themselves by the sea. Fisherfolk rise before the pale light and push out into the glass of the lake. Shipwrights work year-round, patching hulls and fashioning ice-reinforced keels. The largest boats in the Dale come from Targos. When the ice breaks early, Targos is the town that profits most. Life in Targos is loud and honest. Inns are full of sailors swapping roots and rumors. The market sells salted fish, whale oil, and carved knucklehead ivory that fetches good prices in the south, of course. There are shipwrights' yards where men and women sing as they bend planks, and there are taverns where the bad debt can be settled with a fist or a favor. Targos is proud and defensive. Its people guard their fishing lanes jealously and will argue with any town that claims their nets. The harbor is ringed with wooden palisades and watch platforms. Fishermen double as militia when the need arises. They know how to fight on deck and how to read the ice like a map. The town, of course, has its own codes. Honor among crews matter. A captain who abandons his men will find no work in Targos again. Outsiders are watched, but they're not always unwelcome. A skilled carpenter or a brave hunter will find a place if they prove themselves useful. Threats here come from above and below. White dragons can sweep down and scatter boats like leaves. Ice can crush a hull in a night. Raiders and desperate men sometimes try to take what the sea provides, and there are whispers of strange catches. Fish with black veins, teeth like glass, that make even seasoned sailors uneasy. A Targos captain will tell you, respect the water and respect the crew. The lake gives, and the lake takes. When the ice presses in, the town pulls together. When a storm comes, they lash down everything and pray the hull holds. If you visit Targos, learn the harbor's names. Find a captain willing to teach you a knot. Buy a carved trinket from a scrimshander and listen to the old sailor stories. Offer to help mend a net. You'll be paid in fish and a place at the table. Targos is not a gentle place. It is a town that survives by muscle, by skill, and by the stubborn belief that the water will provide if you earn it. Learn its rhythms, and you will find allies who will stand with you when the wind turns. Lonelywood sits where the trees thin and the tundra begins. It smells of sap and sawdust, and the town's heartbeat is the steady rhythm of saws and the creak of pulleys. This is where timber is cut, boards are seasoned, and the north's few warm things are made. The town is built on the edge of the forest. Mills and drying racks, a handful of tight streets, and houses that lean into one another against the wind. Timber here is currency. When the lake freezes and the snows come, the planks from Lonelywood keep stoves burning and roofs from collapsing. The town trades wood or fish, grain, and the odd metalwork it cannot produce. People in Lonelywood are practical and private. They rise before dawn to fell trees and return with hands split and faces lined with resin. Sawmills run year-round. Carpenters are respected for their ability to turn a frozen log into a door that will not warp. There is a quiet pride in craftsmanship. A chair from Lonelywood lasts a lifetime. Lonelywood will also attract those who want to be forgotten. Rogues, exiles, and folk with debts find work in the mills or in the forest. That makes the town useful and, of course, a little dangerous. Secrets hide in the timber stacks, and deals are often struck in the dim light of the drying sheds. Defenses here are modest. The town relies on stout doors, a few watch posts, and neighbors who will answer a call. When raiders come, the mills become barricades, and the townsfolk fight with axes that have seen 100 winters. Lonelywood will not surrender its wood easily. The forest itself is both a resource and a threat. Timber crews sometimes find old rune-carved stumps or half-buried stones that hum at night. Wolves and worse prowl the tree line. A logging crew that pushes too deep can find itself cut off by a storm or stalked by something that knows how to move without leaving a trail. If you visit Lonelywood, learn to listen. The town speaks in the sound of saws and the smell of fresh cut wood. Buy a hand-carved tool, help mend a roof, and don't ask too many questions about the men and women who came through last winter. Lonelywood is not glamorous. It is steady, necessary, and full of small, stubborn lives. Respect the work, respect the wood, and you will find allies who know how to keep a roof over your head when the wind will not. Bremen sits on the thawing banks of the Shangarn River, where it spills into Mead Dúldan. It is a town of mud, chill mists, and the constant threat of rising water. Unlike the fortified hill of Bryn Shander or the aggressive bustle of Targos, Bremen feels like a place holding its breath. It is sleepy, wet, and filled with people who know that the river gives life, but the cold takes it away. The town smells of wet wool, river silt, and the peat fires that burn day and night to keep the damp out. The harbor is prone to freezing over, and the local fishing fleet is small, battling not just the ice, but the river's unpredictable floods. If Targos is the fist of the lakes, Bremen is the weary hand that keeps bailing water. Life here is slow and stubborn. Fishermen cast nets for knucklehead trout in the river mouth, while others dredge the silt for what gets washed down from the tundra. There are no great mines here, only the hard work of keeping the docks from washing away when the ice shifts. The Buried Treasures, the town's most famous inn, is known less for its luxury and more for the stories told by locals who have seen things in the mist that logic cannot explain. Bremen is known for its eccentrics and its isolation, of course. It sits far to the west, often forgotten by the larger politics of the council, until a flood threatens to wipe it off the map. The people are resilient in a quiet way. They don't brag like the folk of Targos. They endure. They are wary of the lake, whispering of monsters that swim beneath the ice, shadows that are too big to be trout. Threats here are elemental. If the Sharngain freezes too solid, the town starves. If it thaws too fast, the town floods. And always, there is the biting wind that scours the river valley, finding every crack in every wall. If you visit Bremen, bring dry socks, any patience for tall tales. Sit by the fire, drink the local ale, and listen to the old fishers talk about the lake monster or the spirits of the river. You won't find riches here, but you will find a place that understands the slow, cold grind of survival better than anywhere else out here. Termalaine sits on a sheltered bend of Mead Dúldan, a town that catches what little light the north offers and turns it into something people will pay for. Think of neat rows of workshops, low stone houses with warm smoke curling from chimneys, and miners who come home with pockets full of glittering trouble. The town grew from veins of tourmaline and other stones that catch the sun. Gem cutters work by lamplight, polishing black and green crystals until they sing. Those stones are traded for grain, tools, and the odd luxury from the south. Termalaine is quieter than Targos or Bryn Shander, but it has a steady, stubborn prosperity that keeps its streets cleaner and its inns a little warmer. Life here is craft and routine. Miners leave before dawn with picks and lamps. In the afternoon, the cutters sit at benches, their hands steady from years of shaping stone. Artisans trade carved trinkets and jewelry for salted fish and bolts of cloth. Children learn to recognize the glint of a good seam and the sound of a safe shaft. The town's defenses are practical. Watch posts on the ridges, a few trained hands with crossbows, and a network of signal fires to warn of danger. Miners are tough. They know how to hold a line and how to collapse a shaft to block an intruder. Termalaine will not be taken by surprise. But with wealth brings attention. Prospectors and smugglers pass through, and rumors of rare veins draw greedy eyes. Chardolin and other dark crystals sometimes appear near the mines, and where chardolin is found, trouble often follows. Miners whisper of veins that hum at night and of men who return from the depths with eyes that do not quite belong to them. Termalaine's people are proud of their work and wary of outsiders who want to buy every stone. They will trade fairly for a good tool, but they will not sell the heart of a seam to the highest bidder without a fight. Hospitality here is measured. A warm bed for a night, a bowl of stew, and a cautious question about where you learned to read a vein. A Termalaine cutter will tell you, respect the stone. A bad cut can ruin a gem and a life. Keep your lamp trimmed, your rope coiled, and your promises very clear. Termalaine is a place of small lights in a long night. Careful, bright, and dangerous, if you forget that every gem has a price. Easthaven sits on the edge of Lac Denishir. It feels like a crossroads. Roads meet here, boats tie up here, travelers arrive with news, goods, and trouble. The town is louder than most. Markets spill into the streets, inns are full, merchants haggle over salted fish, bolts of cloth, and carved knucklehead ivory. Sailors, traders, and occasional nobles pass through. With the Eastway running nearby, Easthaven is where the outside world touches the dale. Life here is practical and bustling. Fishermen mend nets at dawn, cartwrights patch wagons, innkeepers trade rooms for stories and coin. The town supports a larger militia than many of its neighbors. When caravans come, Easthaven is where supplies are sorted and sent on. Politics are messy here. The town has its own speaker, but Easthaven's voice carries weight because of trade. Merchants push for routes and tariffs. Speakers from smaller towns watch what Easthaven does, because a closed road or a seized caravan can mean hunger for many. The people are adaptable. They welcome strangers who bring coin or skills. They distrust those who bring only promises. Pickpockets and con artists work the crowds, and a sharp eye will keep you from losing more than your purse. Threats arrive in many forms: dragons, raiders. They can strike a caravan on the road. Smugglers hide dangerous goods in crates labeled as grain, and sometimes the town's own prosperity draws darker interests. Men who want to control of trade, or by law, or by blade. If you visit Easthaven, learn the market's rhythm. Find the inn where captains swap routes. Ask about the Eastway caravans and who controls the docks. Buy a map. Buy a warm cloak. Offer to help unload a wagon. You'll be paid well. Easthaven is a place of movement and noise. It is where deals are made and where fortunes change hands. Keep your wits. Keep your purse close. And remember that in a town built on trade, information is as valuable as any coin. Caer Dineval and Caer Konig sit opposite one another on Lac Dinishir, two towns built around ruined keeps and older grudges. Their towers are half crumbled, their docks crowded, and their people carry the memory of castles in every argument. These are towns of lineage and claim. Each Caer remembers a lord who once ruled the shore, and each family keeps a ledger of slights and favors that stretches back generations. Fishing lanes between them are as much a matter of honor as of livelihood. A net taken in the wrong place can start a feud that lasts an entire winter. Life here is measured in tides and old names. Fishermen mend nets at dawn and trade gossip at dusk. Their ruined keeps are places of children's dares and old men's curses. Markets sell salted fish, carved ivory, and second-hand armor. Inns are full of storytellers who can make a battle from a bad day and a legend from a lost boot. Defenses are a patchwork of ruined stone and new wood. Watchmen keep an eye on the lake, crossbowmen perch with the old battlements still hold. When trouble comes, the two towns can be stubbornly independent, sometimes cooperating, sometimes trading insults from across the water. The rivalry is real and useful. It keeps both towns sharp, but it also leaves openings. Smugglers use the grudges to move goods between hidden coves. Raiders watch for nights when the two Caers argue and the watch is thin. And when a larger threat appears, a dragon, a remoraz, a band of desperate, hungry, cold men, old pride can slow the response that should have been swift. People here are proud and particular. They will help a neighbor in need, but they will also remind you of the debt that you owe. Hospitality is measured, a bed for a night, a bowl of stool, and a careful question about where you learn to sail. Outsiders who show respect for the old names and the old stones will find allies. Those who mock the past will find cold shoulders and closed doors. A Caer Dineval elder will tell you, keep your oaths and your nets clean. A Caer captain will say, never take a man's claim lightly. The lake always remembers. Good Mead sits on red waters, with a long house at its heart and a smell of ferment and smoke in the air. The town is proud of its mead and its hall, a place where stories are traded for a cup and grudges are settled with a song or a shove. People here keep to the old rhythms, brew in the summer, fish in the autumn, and guard the ice in the winter. Dougan's Hole is smaller, harsher, and more insular. Piers jut into the lake, long, short, and the town's buildings huddle close to the water. They fish knucklehead trout and trade raw ivory and salted fish for grain. Outsiders are watched with suspicion. The folk of Dougan's Hole value independence and keep to themselves. The rivalry between Good Mead and Dougan's Hole runs very deep. They quarrel over fishing lanes and the old slights. Sometimes the fights leave the lake stained and these stories very bitter. Yet when a real threat comes, under the ice, a remoraz, a yeti, both towns will answer the bell, because survival here is a practical thing. If you visit Good Mead, sit in the hall, buy a cup of mead, and listen. If you go to Dougan's Hole, do not crowd the piers. Offer help hauling nets and keep your questions short. Both towns will reward usefulness and punish needless pride. The 10 towns survive on what the land gives and what they can trade. Knucklehead trout are the backbone, meat for winter, ivory for scrimshaw. Whale oil lights the lamps, timber from Lonelywood keeps stoves burning, gems from Termalaine buy grain and tools. Caravans run the East Way and the 10 Trail. Bryn Shander is the hub where goods are pooled and decisions are made. Easthaven moves the most goods. Targos moves the most fish. Bremen manages the river delta. Lonelywood keeps the wood. Each town trades what it can spare and takes what it needs. Smuggling is common. When the council argues, smugglers move goods through hidden coves and frozen inlets. When a town is hungry, a secret shipment can mean the difference between life and a hard winter. The 10 towns endure because ordinary people choose again and again to keep fires lit and watches set. Their lives are made of small bargains, stubborn pride, and quiet work of survival, trade, craft, and a willingness to answer the bell. Carry these towns with you as places of grit and story. Use them to test your loyalties, to forge debts that matter, and to remind players that, in the North, community is the truest kind of power. Thanks for joining me today, guys. This has been a fun dive into the 10 towns of Icewind Dale. I'm going to go through more areas of the Forgotten Realms in the future, and leave your comment below and tell me what you want. Until next time, guys, this is James from the Dungeon Puffin. Like, subscribe, hype. Later, guys.